On Memorial Day, we honor veterans, but there's one story of fallen Civil War soldiers from Illinois that has been largely forgotten.
Potash talks with one man who's trying to keep the memory alive of the heroic Illinois 93rd.
77 years ago,
these words,
brought forth on this continent a new nation.
this man, these pictures, elevated Gettysburg in our common conscience as the pivotal point of the Civil War. But the turning point was the battle at Vicksburg, Mississippi. Victory cut a path through the South and cut Confederate forces in half. It was a campaign fought in large part by a little-known regiment from Rockford, the 93rd Illinois Infantry, a group of farmers and young men looking for adventure.
The 93rd Illinois in Illinois history is documented as the regiment that sacrificed the most lives in the Civil War. Okay, now that happens only when you confront the enemy quite a bit, which they did.
John Huelskamp was inspired to research the 93rd when he discovered this gun at an antique shop just north of Barrington 27 years ago. He noticed an engraving on the handle, Colonel Holden Putnam. Huelskamp researched Putnam and visited his gravesite in Freeport.
Said, "Thy name be thy epitaph." Felt a lot of empathy and figured the family would not have put that on his gravestone unless there was some significance to this man's life.
In fact, Putnam led the charge in one of the bloodiest battles, Missionary Ridge near Chattanooga. Putnam led the 93rd up Tunnel Hill. It was a turning point for the Union. Huelskamp researched every detail for artist Keith Rocco. The bright colors of his palette capture the darkness of that day.
So to the shock of even Confederates in their journals, here comes an officer on a black horse, a striking individual. He shouts to his men, "Never forsake the colors," meaning, let's do it, boys. At that moment, he orders the charge. He was shot through the temple, fell off his horse, to the horror of everybody.
When it was over, the 93rd suffered 3 casualties. But it helped the Union prevail in Chattanooga. The Union rode that wave through Atlanta to the Atlantic and sealed the Confederates' fate. Huelskamp hopes to elevate the 93rd from historical footnote in his book, Friends of the Wigwam. He studied diaries and notes of people like General John E. Smith of Galena. The general's great-great-grandson lives in Barrington, just 2 miles from Huelskamp.
The more you read about him, the more interesting he becomes, but he's just obscure enough to not really get frontline awareness of what he really did.
You probably will not find these faces of the 93rd in a high school history book, but armchair historians hope to preserve their memorable story for the ages, innocent Illinois farmers who became respected fighters for freedom. Larry Potash, WGN News.
Well, you can get a sneak peek at the book and order online at friendsofthewigwam.com.
Very interesting. Yeah. Well, conquering the mysteries of Mars. Up next, why NASA thinks a high-tech shovel is